walk us through this very complicated. Good morning again. We're back at House Appropriations Wednesday, April 29th, 2026. We now have Joint Fiscal Office Ted here to go over the fiscal note for the libraries. That's 232. So.
Joint Fiscal Office, appreciate your patience. My computer decided to die while I was waiting for the Teams message. So I was having a technology detox there for a second. And now I'm back.
Wasn't long enough, I'm sure.
It's never long enough. It's true. Okay, so I'm going to try and talk and pull up the fiscal note at the same time, but as the chair mentioned, it is not terribly involved. The bill, as it originally started and came out of Senate Education, had a specific percentage allocation of the cannabis sales tax to the Department of Libraries. As that bill made it through the process, there was a rather fulsome discussion about whether the Agency of Education would be required to transfer a certain amount of sales tax revenue to the Department of Libraries, and it ended up as a may. And so that is the main fiscal impact of the bill, is that rather there could be two potential, rather than all the money going to the universal and summer and after school and summer special funds, a certain amount could end up at the Department of Libraries. There was, I'm sure you heard the testimony, some concern about the length and complexity of the application for those funds, although the Department of Libraries currently would be a theoretical applicant for those funds, none have applied, and I think, yeah, they identified the barriers to those applications. The other pieces in the bill, there is a repeal of an audiovisual revolving fund. I will say there is a number of us, both at AOA and at JFO, have gone down the rabbit hole to try and figure out whether that fund had any money in it, etc. We have not been able to find any evidence of that fund. So we are assuming that it is closed out with $0 in it. But that has been a bit of it certainly has not been active recently, to the extent we can slip it out.
List of special funds.
It is not on the list. It's not on the special
funds.
No.
And so the administration can't find it anywhere in their finance and administration.
The best thing, I know I shouldn't be speculating, but sometimes it's an analogous situation that happens is sometimes in agencies, they have a fund outlined. VITA has certain funds that are outlined in statute, but it's not a state special fund. And the best I can figure is it's some version of that. And then finally, we checked in, there is language in the bill that would allow libraries to be recipients of a $30,000 early education grants through 16 DSA 4041. We checked in with the Agency of Education. They do not, the grants are voluntary. And they are not currently making any grants through this program. And so even though this would expand the statutory applicants, we don't anticipate a change in practice. So that is the fiscal note. I remembered most of it. Yeah, going through it, but I jogged my memory on a few extra pieces once I got it pulled up.
Yeah, I just have one question. There's a reference on the second page under section 3 in the second paragraph to the awardees in the program track receive funding for 3.5 years. Centers receive funding for 5 years. What is a center? Because I couldn't find a reference to a center before that.
So a center would be there are certain through CDD regulations, there are certain after school centers. It's like a site.
Okay.
And so it's more involved than a program.
Given to an after school entity.
An after school entity, yeah. So it would be, as far as my understanding, I don't know the exact, and maybe I should, rather than speaking before I know the full details, it's, my assumption that a site or a center is more than a specific, like a program, right? So thinking through within the context of this bill, library might have an after school program, but they're not an after school center, they're a library. And that would be the type of distinction we're thinking about here. But I will, if I've messed that up, I will send a clarification to you all.
Just curious. Thank you.
Any other questions about this? No, yes, Rep. Brett, introduce yourself.
Hey, Representative Brown, Richmond House Education. Ted, do you know, back when the audiovisual revolving fund was active at some time in the past, you know, how did money flow into it? It looks like it was something libraries would assess to users who are receiving materials.
It was, as far as I've understood and what I've heard in walkthrough, was that it was connected to postage. So if the library paid for some amount of postage for someone to get a material through interlibrary loan, they might ask that patron to reimburse them for the postage. So again, leading to this fund not having a lot of money, if it was primarily dealing in postage coming in and out, particularly, you know, a number of years ago, it can't be a large amount of money.
Any other questions? All right, we will vote on this on Thursday. Do we have it on our calendar yet? Maybe, well, I think we can vote on it after we hear the budget on Thursday. It's not going to take very long. I want us to focus on the budget first. So maybe we'll do that at 11:30 or something. There. So, thank you, Ted. Appreciate it. Thank you, Rep. Brown, for coming in. And we are good to go on that. So, Katie, I think, is that all we have for today? Okay. The floor is going to go fairly lengthy today, not that.
Fairly lengthy.
Pardon me?
Fairly lengthy.
Lengthy, not, I mean, until 3:30, I think, it's 2.5 hours. So we're starting into that end of session.
Yeah.
Not as bad as the Senate, who deferred most of their business till today because the budget went for a long time. And I imagine they'll be deferring business till tomorrow as well. But they're going to vote out the budget they're starting at 11, I think. So they'll be voting out the budget and then. And there's one amendment I saw on that. They're also looking at miscellaneous tax. There are some amendments on that. I was trying to read it on my cell phone. I have to read it on a computer. It was complicated. So, you know, the big miscellaneous tax, the yield bill and the budget are the things that are going to get out of the Senate. So there'll be some committees of conference getting started, you know, probably next week. And the adjournment pool ends tomorrow at 4 o'clock. So put in your bets. Tom, what did it is? He's not divulging.
June 20th.
June 20th.
I don't want to fix myself, you know.
Yeah.
I didn't pick
I
my
could put it in
first.
August, yeah, right. Probably not.
Be offline?
We're about to go off live, and so we'll be live again tomorrow at 9:30.